And I'm David from Levika Photography, and today we'll be talking about the Sony HLV, did I say that right? Yeah, HVL-F43M flash, this thing. In the past, you've probably seen clips about me talking about the hot shoe issues and using the Youngnow RF603 controllers. I use the ones for Nikon on here. That gives me wireless capability without any issues. I have several Youngnow flashes, but what I didn't have was the capability to do high-speed sync. And the sync on this camera, if you're actually using Sony equipment, is only 1/60th of a second wirelessly. So that's really slow. But you can get 200, actually 250 if the conditions are right, out of Youngnow's on here. But at 250, that's where you start to see just a slight dark edge at the top where the shutter is starting to slow down. And then at 320, the whole dark edge is top because the shutter's not being able to catch up. So I wanted to do multi-flashes with high speed. I figured, you know, a head unit that had high-speed sync was my best option. And the reason why is because if you take this unit right here, this is my Youngnow 560 Mark III. I've got several of these. So the cool thing about these is wirelessly, you know, you can use a controller, but if you're using a head unit like this, let me turn this on here. You know, you'll notice that I have it set at S1. Okay, so what S1 allows you to do is that's slave 1, and that just means direct slave. So on this will do a high-speed sync with the Sony a6000 at all shutter speeds, at full power. The only problem is full power on this is half the power of this. Has a very low guide number. This is their medium range flash. This is considered more of a full range. But anyway, you're able to do 4,000th of a second on here, and this flash, just by picking up when this one pops with S1, will sync at, I got the best results at about 1,000th of a second. And you know, that gives me plenty of coverage. So now I've got a high-speed sync way to do a lot of light at full power. S1 on here, and then these. But life is not perfect with this flash. Actually, life is far from perfect with this flash. Okay, the Youngnows, these things are like, you know, you either get one that's kind of buggy and then it just fizzles out on you, or if you get one that you haven't had any problems with after the first 3 uses, they're rock solid. I mean, these are just great flashes, and they're cheap, and they're fast, and they sync at almost, you know, the same shutter speed. Actually, this one will sync at 4,000th of a second, but I do notice that there's more light on one side of the frame than the other. But it's a very gradient effect. So with that being said, this does give you high-speed sync capability. Now, is it good? Kind of, sort of. Okay, first off, let me talk about the other functions on this light. Okay, so it has TTL, manual, and wireless modes. It zooms. It's very easy to use. As a matter of fact, I'll pop it off here, and I'll come around to the camera. Okay, so let me just show you the good things about it. Alright, so startup time is very quick. And to set it on high-speed sync, let's see if you can see that there. Alright, you hold the center button down And that brings you into a submenu. And the first thing is HSS, and that's on. So that's all we need. And then basically your modes, you've got channel 1 wireless, you've got no flash, and then you've got manual with high-speed sync. And that's pretty much what we're going to do everything at, is on this setting. Okay, so over here you have TTL and manual, and TTL with high-speed sync. So in this case, again, I'm going to do everything on manual. Here's your zoom, here's your light for your display so you can see what you're doing. Okay, and then on the side here you have an LED function, and then that allows you to have a little movie light, which is actually kind of nice. And you crank up the levels. I don't know if you can see that there. There. Crank up the levels, and then it shows you how much light there is. Okay, so we'll look at that in a minute. All right, so with that being said, don't you guys hate it when I say that all the time? With that being said, because I seem to say it a lot. All right, so let me turn the LED light off. Okay, the other thing that this has, it's kind of nifty, I thought was a very innovative design, is the head can actually tilt down just a touch. Most flashes are pretty much stuck right at 90. This one goes, it looks like it's about 5 or 6 degrees south of 90. And then there's 90. Now, what's cool is that it can actually do that. Now, here's what sucks. Okay, so let me turn on the camera. Now, I love high-speed sync. Okay, but there's an issue. You can do high-speed sync this way. This is how this flash actually moves. But the second that you go past here, you can only go from 90. The second you go to here, high-speed sync turns off and you're stuck at 160th of a second. That I find very annoying because I like to go bounce off of everything. And this has a great range of movement, if you can see that, by the way. I mean, that's really, really nice movement. I mean, the fact that you can actually shoot this way and bounce off a wall behind you or bounce off a ceiling above you or go forward, that's very cool. But the fact that high-speed sync turns off when this head moves really sucks. I mean, that is just lame. So I find that very frustrating. The other thing I find frustrating about this design is here's the young now, and here's this. Look at how fat this thing is. So to actually try to stack this in your bag with another flash, it just, unless you had another one of these that you could turn the other way, you know, that would probably work. But who wants to spend $900 on 2 flashes? Or sorry, $800. I think these right now are $400. To me, that seems ridiculous. I won't pay more for a flash that costs more than the camera body. Right now, the camera bodies are on sale for $450 for the Sony a6000. There's no way I'm spending more than $450 on a flash. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, it does have that lovely range of movement. And this is very innovative. Instead of doing the twisty bounce thing, the reason why I'm not a huge fan of the twisty bounce is when you go sideways, you have to really kind of finagle your way around the flash to get it to where you want it to go. But eventually it gets in that proper motion. I find this design very innovative, but because it makes it so fat, I'm not sure it's so great. But I like the idea of it. And again, high-speed sync turns off the second that you move the head. So this kind of defeats my purpose of using this as a high-speed sync unit, because I want the head to go off to the side and point at this flash, because this flash has twice the power of this one at full power. So when this one fires, if I've got another young now over here, that one's going to fire at the same time. I've already tested it, it does work fine. But the biggest problem is I can't do it at high-speed sync unless I'm shooting straight on my subject. Now that's the other thing that's infuriating is why does Sony think that I want to shoot my subject straight on? Any professional photographer out there will tell you that the only way that you're going to shoot the subject straight on is if you use a ring light. And I have a homemade one. Hold on one second here. I'll get into this later. But the only way that you want to shoot a subject straight on is with ring light. You shoot through the center of your light. Okay? You know, with that, that gives you even light all the way around, or if you're doing macro work. But outside of that, you want cross light. You want to be able to dramatically light your subject. You don't want anything straight on. So this idea of doing high-speed sync straight on, because that's what Sony thinks you should do, is actually kind of asinine. So I've got two options. I can either get another head unit, or I can go in and hack this and disable whatever switch is on here. Now realistically, I'm not going to do that. The only reason why is because I've got a Nissan i40 coming, and that's going to be the next review. But let me show you guys. Okay, so this has the standard features. Bounce card, which you're at 1/60th of a second, or your wide angle screen, which is what every flash should have. It should always have those. Let me see here. The zoom goes from 105 to 24, and on TTL it will sync up and change with the lens if you have a zoom on here. But outside of that, mediocre at best. So anyway, let's just take a look at it, a few of the other features of this, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it looks like. Here's our happy robot baby. He's so funny. He's still smiling. He's always happy. Probably because he's programmed to be happy, and he will make you happy. Although I'm pretty sure he steals money from my wallet at night. Anyway. Okay, so what I wanted to do is a demonstration with a high-speed flash. Alright, so let me go over here and turn this thing off. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is, now there's only two flashes from Sony that give you high-speed flashes, this and the 60M. And the 60M is extremely overpriced and overheats very fast. Okay, so here is a high-speed flash. Now you can see from the light it's not all that interesting. It's I don't know, to me it looks very flat when you shoot straight on. But if you try to bounce off of anything, let me see here, let me go back to the main screen. Okay, notice right here, watch this icon. Now I've got the flash bent up this way, like that. Okay, watch that icon. As I bend it back, bink, now it goes back into high speed, but you're stuck at that angle. And you can do high speed this way or this way, and it still stays on. And it matches the shutter speed perfectly, so I can go all the way up to 4,000th of a second, full power. But I just get this crappy shadow, straight on flash. It's like, you know, it just looks like very poor 70s photography. Okay, so if I come over here and I turn on my Young now, and this is on S1. Okay, so I have the head angled towards the camera, and then, or the body of the Young now angled towards the camera, and then the head is pointed at the robot. Okay, so if I come over here at 4,000th of a second, now if I hit play, notice we got cross light at 4,000th of a second. So that's what it was before. That's what it is after. Okay, and just so you guys can see this, like if I put this right here so you can see it go off. Okay, I believe that's in the shot now. Okay. Now, boom. Okay, now you can really see how dramatic that is. The reason why I'm showing this to you is this is going to be, I think, the solution for high-speed flashes, because for wireless controllers, you only have the, as far as I know, now you guys throw me a comment if I'm wrong, but the Photix Odin right now is the only wireless controller that I know that will do high-speed sync off camera. But the biggest problem is that controller and one trigger is like almost $300, and then they want $300 for their flashes. So if you wanted to go that route, you would spend $1,000 in a heartbeat. But if you put a high-speed sync head on here and you use these Youngnow 560 Mark IIIs, these Youngnows sell for $70. So basically you could have a head unit for, now I'm going to start talking about the Nissan because this is going away. I am not impressed with this by any means. It's not the worst thing I've ever used, but it's not as good as the reviews that I've read. I don't like it. But the fact that I can do high-speed sync off the head and use these, that's great. It gives me capability now. But I need to be able to point the head more directly at the Youngnows. So I'm going to go with probably the i40. We're going to test that next week and see if that actually does what I want it to do. And it's also a much smaller head unit than this. It does, you know, full bounce, head tilt, the same way that these work. Not nearly as fat as this, does not have a video light. Okay, so let's test the video light. Okay, so we're dimly lit. Now the video light is supposed to be 400 lumens. So I'm going to do first, here's my cell phone. So here's my flashlight app, and I use this a lot. So this is how much light I'm getting off of my cell phone. Okay, I just wanted to do that as a demonstration there. Cell phone light. There we go. Okay, so now I think that's, I have no idea how bright that is. It always seems really bright, but it's also because I'm also looking for something that's like 2 feet away. Okay, so on here we'll hit this video light, and we'll go all the way up to 10. Okay, so there's your video light. Pretty good coverage. I like the shape of it. It's very oval. It looks to be twice as bright as the cell phone light, so video light wise that seems to be okay. It doesn't overpower the subject. I don't really see, you can see in the video, I'm not really seeing a hot spot if I go that far away. Seems to be okay. Kind of a smooth, even light. Oh, spooky. Da, da, da. Oh, I like the shadow in the background. You see that? Ooh, that's kind of cool. Alright, so with that being said, here's a short clip of me getting hostile about the overheating problem. Seriously? 40 flashes. Ugh. Okay, so what's the final word on this flash? I just have issues with the fact that when I bounce, I can only do it at 160th of a second. Why does Sony limit me? Why do they want to tell me what I can and can't do? I don't want to do that. You know, I work creatively. This kills my creativity. Although the design of this flash is very innovative, it's very ineffective. If you look at how fat that body is, it does not store well in your bag. The 60M is much bigger than this, and it's heavier, and it overheats twice as fast. I have read a lot of reviews on this, and I was really excited about it because I heard that this one doesn't overheat. But I've already used it in 2 photo shoots, and both times it did overheat. It made it to, I actually did a flash test this morning and sat there and just popped off flashes. and waited for the glow light to come back on every single time in between. And when you wait for that light to come back on, you can get to about 55. But if you're in a hurry or you're at a shoot where you're not looking at that, really it's 30 to 40 before it overheats. But that's still twice as much as the M60 because I'm hearing 10 to 20 on that. Okay, so functionality, this has all the functionality that it should. Wireless off-camera flash though, again, this goes to 1/60th of a second. Why? I just don't understand. Why are they limiting this stuff? And the fact that this thing overheats at all frustrates me. It shouldn't. You know, these young nows, they're $70. You know, they don't overheat. I've never had any problems with those. The other thing I wanted to add to this too was the video light. Very innovative. It works very well. I think that's actually kind of cool. I'm seeing a lot of flashes come out with this now, and but the bulk it adds to this thing is just insane. So I would rather go without it if they could cut down this design and get this thing in half. Size-wise, it's fairly light and it's not that tall, so it doesn't screw up the balance of the camera. Actually makes it easier to hold, especially when you're doing it like this, and I think that that's actually very cool. So, you know, a good thing is am I torn about this flash? No, I'm not. I'm getting rid of this. It's just not for me. The fact that I lose high-speed sync when I move the head drives me nuts. But I already said that, so you guys are like, why are you repeating everything that you said? So what are your other options? You have the METS 52AF1, and that is a full power flash, equivalent to the, I think it's more equivalent to the 60M than this. And that has pretty much the same functionality and the traditional METS quality, which is always very good. But the biggest problem with that is I cannot get one. I have not been able to get one for months. I would love to hear if anybody out there has one, how well they like it. That is supposed to do high-speed sync at all shutter speeds. The other solution that you have is the Photix Odin, and that one will also do high-speed sync wirelessly at all shutter speeds, but again, you're buying the trigger and the transmitter, and then you have to buy the Odin flashes to go with it to make it do it, and that becomes another problem because now you're into a wireless system for $1,000. My biggest problem is I cannot buy a flash that costs more than the camera body. And right now this is on sale for $450. Why would I spend more than $400 on a flash? It's just not going to happen. So what I did end up getting is the Nissan i40. And I'll test that next with high-speed sync, because that's the other flash with the high-speed sync option. And we'll see how well that works, and that should work fine with the young nows. So I guess this is also one thing I wanted to say is I want to plead a young now. You know, they make a high-speed 568 flash for Canon and Nikon. Please make one for the new Sony multi-terminal hot shoe, because you know everything else out here is so expensive, and I just think it would be cool if they did that, because you know their equipment so far has been actually very good. Outside of that, I hope you guys like this video, and you know, please give me a like or leave a comment. Please click on the ads because it helps me down the road. You guys have a good day.